and welcome to episode 3 of Clash Planets podcast. Today's date is the 4th of July 2013. I'm your host Mikey, and with me is Jason.
Hello.
And Ayden.
Hello.
Okay, well we'll go straight on with it. Ayden, what have you been up to?
What have I been up to? I've read a book.
Ah.
A kid's book as well.
Kids book?
Yeah, because someone just recommended to me at work, said try reading this.
Is it Harry Potter and the Chamber of Commerce?
No, it was called... No, surprisingly not. I think that's next on my list. It's called 0.4. And it's...
So is it like a prequel to a book, but not the full prequel?
No.
It's a bit of a prequel.
It's 0.4 a certain people in the book.
A group or individual?
A group.
A collective even.
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
Yeah. It's it starts off pretty good actually. It's a bit set out as if someone's recorded it onto tape, and halfway through the chapters they just cut out and it's where he's changing the tape over, which is pretty cool. It's also a good way of getting away around stuff.
Can you confirm to our audience what a tape it is? Because they might not all know.
It's very hard to describe. Imagine. No.
I think
Betamax.
It's after
If they don't know
Betamax.
tape, they're not going to.
No, they're not going to know Betamax either.
I think I can describe a tape.
Go on.
It's basically a CD, but before CDs were around.
Yeah.
Do you know what that'll do? That's
Yeah.
fine. Yeah, because I've interrupted for no
Yeah,
reason
and
whatsoever.
it's all the data's collected on plastic shoelaces that go around in circles.
And occasionally come out and get
Yeah.
ripped and stuff.
But the good part about them coming back out, unlike a disc that gets scratched, with these you can just wind it all back in and it works fine.
Unless
Yeah.
it snaps, and then it's a bastard.
Yeah, sometimes you can glue it back together.
True.
Bit of sellotape.
Yeah.
I mean,
It
sticky that
skips.
plastic.
Your track
Yeah.
then skips, but yeah,
Anyway,
that's
back to the
how
book.
it's set up. But yeah, what it's about, obviously it's a kid's book. I think it's aimed at between say 10 and 15-year-olds, I'd say. It's about 200 pages long, and it's about this guy who's it's hard to describe without ruining it, but at the same time I don't think anyone's going to read it who's part of the audience.
You may inspire somebody,
Yeah.
but go with it anyway.
Well, so this guy's about 14. There's a girl he likes. His mate's going out with her. All that crap, and then they go to this fete in their village, and something happens. Yeah, and everybody gets frozen in time, apart from about 4. I think it's 4 people.
Is it 0.4?
No.
But are these the 0.4?
Yes.
Okay.
It's hard to describe it without ruining it, but the book itself is set out so when it's set out almost like it's a reference book. So it's telling a story, and then the author of the story of the book puts in these bits. So he says at one point he's talking about how he watched The Apprentice on TV, and then the author's put in The Apprentice. So and so from this book has said this about The Apprentice and how it was a TV show about a wealthy businessman who put idiots on TV pretending to also be businessmen in order to make more money.
So the book's true to life.
Yeah, it is really. I'd say the first third of the book's really funny, just because of those little things. And he proper references fake books to do it.
Yeah.
It's quite educational for the people it's aimed at, because it gives them side notes and references.
What genre would you class this book as?
Sci-fi.
Sci-fi.
Yeah.
That's science fiction for those of you who don't really
Yeah.
know.
The start of it's very funny. The middle part gets a bit boring, and then the last 50 pages is a bit of a twist, and it's not really a twist you see coming. You see most of the twists coming towards the end, and then when the end hits, you're like, oh, that's quite clever. Well done.
That's good. I like books that do that.
Yeah, especially for ones that are aimed at people that are half my age. It's
Even better.
yeah. It's all right if you're needing a book to read, but you're not really sure. Well, you're not so much you're not really sure, but you don't really want to read anything heavy. You want a light book. This is a good book. So I know I call it a kid's book, but it's aimed at teenagers. and you can get away with reading it if you're a bit older.
I think that line is becoming blurred. Obviously, after
Yeah.
Harry Potter and such.
Yeah, exactly.
Is people care less about that?
Because
you
that's technically a kid's book. But
Yeah.
I'd say that was aimed at teenagers, and towards the end, the last half of it was more towards adults. I think as you grew up with Harry Potter, his audience got older, and therefore they were
Yes.
aimed at him, or aimed at them even.
Yeah.
So you may have been 12 when it came out, but by the time it was over, you were 20, and it was like you're an adult. It's going to talk about adult situations. And yeah, I'd say it's probably aimed at a similar audience. To be fair.
Yeah, good, excellent.
Yeah, interesting book. I think it's a one that's not very well known as well.
Yeah,
So,
I'd never heard of it before.
yeah, like I said, if you're looking for a light read, I'd pick it up. Other than that, I suppose I should talk about a computer game.
I think that would be good.
As
Yeah.
we are mainly a computer game podcast,
Yeah.
although we do dabble in other stuff like books,
And-
kids' books.
Yeah, absolutely.
I completed The Last of Us not long ago, and obviously we did a spoiler cast on it, me, Jay, and Berkeley, son of Shakira.
Yeah.
Yes, we
Which is,
did.
it was just Paul for those that don't know who Berkeley's is.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you want really in-depth details of that game, go and watch that. It's on YouTube. Our channel's Clash Planet.
This
Yeah,
contains spoilers.
yes, it is a spoiler
Yes.
cast, people. So if you haven't played the game, do not watch it.
Unless you don't care
Yeah.
and you want to
But
have it spoiled.
I've got to talk about that game, man, because it was bloody awesome.
Yes, it was. I agree. It was. I think we both lost a sizable portion of our time, didn't we?
Oh,
playing
right,
that?
damn. I think I spent 14. It took me 14 hours to complete, and I completed it within about 4 days.
Yeah.
Yeah. I took a little bit longer, but I had this work thing to go and do.
Oh, me too. I just went in tired.
Yes. Well, that's an option as well, isn't it?
Yeah, but yeah, it's such a good game. For those that don't know, because you've been living under a rock maybe, The Last of Us is post-apocalyptic. It's a guy called Joel and a girl called Ellie, and it's about their adventure going across the country, trying to survive kind of a zombie apocalypse, but with actual real science involved, which I
Yeah.
don't quite get, but obviously you get, Mike, don't you?
Yeah, it's probably my favourite depiction of zombies I've seen since Resident Evil, and it's better than that.
Because they're fungus zombies.
Yeah, which are based. I can't remember the name again. I'm sure we talked about it last time a little bit. Yeah,
Yeah.
this fungus that in real world it gets into ants, it drives them crazy, it makes them climb up really high into the branches, and then like a mushroom thing bursts through their head and spreads spores below, infecting other ants.
And it does have a lot of elements of that in it. You
Yeah.
see all the mushrooms, like the older they are, the more mushrooms that are
Yeah.
climbing around these zombies' faces. The bigger ones do throw spores at you.
Yeah.
So yeah, like that boss you saw me
Yes.
fighting, it does have a couple of bosses, but nothing drastic. So you can avoid some of them, so which is cool. But yeah, it's a really really good game. Not so much for the environment and the story that it's telling, but I'd say more about the characters. There's
Yeah.
so much connection to those characters and character development that you just don't see in computer games anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, I quite like the atmosphere as well.
Yeah.
It just had a feeling about it. You didn't feel like, oh, it's just I'm on to level 4.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
it didn't have that feeling. You felt it felt like a book or a film to
Yeah,
some degree.
they even cut it down so you're going through seasons, aren't you?
Yes.
And I'm there thinking, are we just going to have the normal 4 seasons, or is this going to take longer? Because obviously there's no set time to when. You don't go from winter, spring, summer, autumn, and then go, you know what, that's where it ends.
Yeah.
We can't do winter again. So it's, yeah, for me, I was like, I don't actually know when this game's going to end,
Yeah.
which was pretty cool. And there are a lot of, as I described in the spoiler thing, oh shit moments. You're just like, oh shit, I can't believe that's just happened.
Yeah.
So yeah, very cool game.
Very good stuff.
Seriously, if you've played Bioshock Infinite, the guy who plays Joel is the same guy who voices is it Booker DeWitt?
Yeah, Booker DeWitt.
yeah.
Same voice actor. And if you liked that game, I thought that was probably one of my best games of this generation. However, I think Last of Us definitely beat it for me.
Yeah, I couldn't decide because certainly for this year, Bioshock Infinite and The Last of Us
Yeah.
top 2 games, I'm still leaning towards BioShock.
Oh, yeah.
But it's very, very close.
Why is that then?
I don't know. I was trying to decide this the other day because I knew that you'd ask.
Yeah.
But I think with BioShock, I just liked the whole. I don't know. It was slightly more fantasy.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and I spent a lot of time on BioShock just looking around, just because I could. I did that less because there was more urgency on The Last of Us, so you tended not to hang around too much because you were worried that something was going to try and kill you.
Probably one of the reasons I liked it a bit more.
Yeah.
It forced me to go through it quicker.
Yeah, they were both excellent, but for different reasons, and I think that makes them really good.
It took me the same amount of time to complete them, actually. I think BioShock was actually a little bit less time.
Yeah.
I think it took me 13 hours, but it felt like The Last of Us was quicker because you constantly had to be vigilant around you. You couldn't just go, yeah, I'm going to kill these guys and I'm going to check this corner. It's like, no, you've got to get out of here.
Yeah.
Because you don't know what's around the corner and it will destroy you.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a few reasons I preferred it. The game type, as we just mentioned, the gameplay even, sorry. I did prefer the characters as well. I prefer the characters a lot more. And post-apocalyptic, I just love post-apocalyptic worlds. Fallout, I loved Fallout. Just the film The Road, that was an awesome post-apocalyptic film. It just shows you the horrors of what could be if we didn't really have law and order and it was a huge apocalypse. Then this is kind of an example of what it would be like, probably minus the zombies.
Yeah.
And it kind of shows you that you got to fear the humans in society. Or in the world, I suppose there is no society, but you got.
According to Margaret Thatcher.
Well, I mean, in a post-apocalyptic world, there isn't really much of a society, is there?
I'd say that the society wherever there's people.
Yeah.
It's a different source of society,
Yeah,
isn't
yeah.
it? You've gone from a society where you can trust someone, or have a relative trusting to a society where you probably won't trust anybody.
I think what I like about the post-apocalyptic worlds in general is it's kind of like it's a new take on medievalism because it's that sort of thing where it's power that rules rather than just the idea of law itself.
Yeah.
It's like who's got the most weapons, who's got the most food, who's got the best
biggest
defences.
gun.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what rules that's world rather than everyone's listening to some group because they're democratically elected or whatever.
Yeah.
And it brings you to a more primitive world, but it sets it in a different setting completely to the Middle Ages. So it's not just knights and horses and princesses and towers.
But that's me, really. That's been my last couple of weeks, is that book and that game. I'm not going to review the book, but I've reviewed the game. So if you want to see that, go on clashplanet.com. The Last of Us review is up there. It's spoiler-free if you haven't played it. If you have played it and you want to see our discussion on it, then yeah, go on YouTube. It's on there somewhere. We'll leave links somewhere to find it, I suppose.
I'm sure we can manage that.
Yeah. Alright, that's me, I'm afraid.
Okay, then. Well, I'm going to go to you now, Jason.
I suspected you might.
Now, I hear you've been doing a few things.
Yeah, you don't even know, do you?
I don't know. You kept one
You
of them.
wanted to give the illusion that you knew what was going on, and you don't know what this conversation's going to be about either.
I don't know, so let's go to the things that I do know about first.
Okay, what do you know about?
That you've got some sort of D&D app.
Have I?
According to the text.
Isn't that what you were discussing? Your
yes.
app?
Okay, let's do that. Yeah, because I've got about 3 things to talk about, so let's start with that one. Not an app, but an Xbox Live Arcade game.
Oh, yes.
I'd never actually heard of this, but it's a new Dungeons and Dragons remake, which is basically around. They're basically arcade games which were released years back, from what I understand. Now, unlike a lot of Dungeons and Dragons stuff, which you're probably imagining, dice being rolled or all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
This is Golden Axe, basically. But I liked it more than Golden Axe. There's actually 2 arcade games built into the one purchase, and I've only actually played through the one. It's longer than Golden Axe. It's more fun. It's got more characters.
You get to ride monsters in it.
Do you know you don't get to ride monsters in it? But you do get to pick up different weapons and, occasionally swap to a different weapon, or you can pick up a bow and arrow and have a go at that.
Yeah.
There seems to be a lot more variety in the characters as well. So you've got an elf, which is living the cliche and being a magic user.
Ooh.
You've got a dwarf, which is a little bit taller than I'd expect a dwarf to be, but got an axe.
Yeah.
That's fine too. I mean, you've got the things like you've got like a rogue sort of thief type character. It's all the standard stuff. There's a lot of cliche in there, as you probably expect there to be.
Yeah.
But it's pretty cool. I just didn't. I got it for a laugh, really. I wanted to see what it was all going to be about, and I had a lot of fun playing through the story. I think works out about £10 for the 2 games. They'll probably be on offer at some point for those of you who can stand to wait. But if you like a bit of a, crawl along, sort of like
Dungeon up.
Yeah, dungeon them up, as it were. I can barely say that. Dungeon them up.
Dungeon them up.
Yeah, a Golden Axe, Streets of Rage type style game. It's a lot of fun. But that was just me dabbling. What I also was going to do, and failed horribly, was to play the new Borderlands 2 DLC.
And what's the new Borderlands 2 DLC?
Well, this fits a theme. This has actually sounded really cool to me, and I'll still get round to it. But it's basically, the DLC is around them playing Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
Funnily enough. So, as I understand it, and having watched the trailers, and one of my friends has described this to me a little bit, is they pretend they're playing Dungeons and Dragons, or they are playing Dungeons and Dragons around the table, doing the old classic actually having things explained to you by a game master. But when you actually play out the scenes in a Borderlands style with guns, with lots of skeletons and goblins and orcs and all that sort of thing running at you, which I thought was quite a nice take on Borderlands. Because I don't know whether anyone's played Borderlands up until now.
I've played Borderlands 1. I'm just not a fan.
No,
I don't like that. I'm a fan of the permadeath thing, but with this it's like the opposite spectrum of that, where you can just die as much as you want. It's like, it's alright, just reload, carry on where you were.
Yeah.
I just don't like it. I feel no urgency to not die.
No.
It's like, fuck it, I can just go back if I want.
It's not quite. I didn't find it quite like that. It's harder to do than Halo. Halo's a lot more die and then just restart.
Yeah.
But what I do really like about Borderlands, I'm kind of going off the point, but still, is you get the second wind,
right?
Which you might remember, which is where basically when you die, you sort of like start blacking out and you're on the ground and you've got your gun out, and if you can kill someone while you're on the ground within the next 10 seconds, you get your second wind and you back up.
Yeah.
I quite like that, but you're right, it does take the urgency away from survival, because
there seems to be no punishment really, apart from you have to get in a car and trek back to where you were.
There isn't any punishment about it.
No.
And I'll be honest, I've not devoted a lot of my time to Borderlands 2, but that DLC seemed really good. However, whilst I planned completely to have a go at that, just in time for this lovely podcast, I got to the downloading, realised it was going to take a couple of hours to get the DLC downloaded. So I rigged up my Dreamcast.
Yes.
And I thought, what can I play on my Dreamcast? So I actually got out a game called Grandia 2.
I don't know that
which
one.
People probably won't know
I know
about.
the name actually. I think I remember the Grandia series. Is it a JRPG?
It is. It's probably my favourite JRPG, which is partly why I was inspired to get the Dreamcast out. It's basically, how would I describe it? What makes it any better? It's probably, it's a very standard idea from an JRPG, going to rescue someone, you've got your inevitable character with big spiky hair.
Yeah.
It is, again, living all of the cliches completely. But what I really like about it is the battle system. And I was intent on playing this again just to relive the battle system, because you probably remember the old, Final Fantasy VII thing where you've got your characters in a row on one side of the screen, you've got the bad guys in the row on the other side, and you take turns of hitting each other.
They did that until like 10 Part 2, I think.
Pretty much. Yeah, but they didn't give it up for a long time.
No.
So Grandia 2 actually would have happened before Final Fantasy broke the mould. And it just plays out just a little bit differently. I'm going to try and attempt to explain how it works.
Okay.
There's a lot more moving around on the screen, but what will happen is there's like a bar at the bottom of the screen, and all of your characters and all of the enemies are represented by a little face which moves along the screen at the bottom. I'm actually representing this with my hands for the audience. No one can see that. And basically, as it moves along the screen, you can see who's going to get the next turn.
Right.
And then you can think about who I'm going to attack next. And you can do a combo attack, which is your pretty standard hit somebody. hits a bit harder, or you can do a critical attack. Now, if you do a
I'd go with
critical
that.
attack, this is where it gets tactical.
Oh.
Is if you do a critical attack in one of the little windows on the bar, which is where your enemy is preparing their attack,
Right.
the critical attack will stop their attack entirely, and they will go back to the beginning of the bar again, and won't get to attack.
Nice.
So you find yourself being a bit more tactical. Now, I only got as far as still having the one character to play with. I know you end up with like 4 characters in your team
Right.
when you're doing the battles, but it gets very tactical later on, and you're having to look at, right, my character's allowed to choose their move now. It does freeze at that point, but at that point you get to pick, right, I'm going to attack that particular enemy, I'm going to attack them with a combo because I think I can kill them now, or I'm going to attack them with a critical because I know that by the time my character runs up to them, because running around takes time too,
Yeah.
so you have to sort of factor that in. Then basically you're trying to be tactical enough to stop enemies attacking, and you can do the same thing with taking potions. That will take you time to actually use them, and you can get effective the same way. So if your character is in the bar where you can get hit, and an enemy attacks you, then you might miss out on your attack.
Uh-huh.
So there's lots of different things to think about, and the different attacks move along the bar quicker as well.
So if someone's got a Dreamcast, do you recommend them getting this game?
God, yes. But I'm
You'll have to let me know what it is, because I've actually been playing a Dreamcast this week as well.
have you really?
I find it really hard to get used to one analog stick.
Yes.
So what's this?
This was the confusing thing for me, is I picked up the Dreamcast controller. Doesn't feel quite as
So
good as an Xbox.
where do I put my other thumb?
Yes, I don't understand.
It's true, actually. Even when you're not playing a game when you need the second analog stick, you always rest it there when you're not pressing the
Yeah.
other button.
That's where your thumb lives.
Yeah, I was playing. No, I wasn't playing. But I found my PlayStation 1 controller the other day that has no analog sticks.
Oh,
And I was like, what
dirty.
is this? What games does this even work for?
Very few.
Yeah, crazy. But like, yeah, I'll have to pick up this game. I
So
think.
what were you doing on the Dreamcast?
I was setting it up for a student of mine.
Okay.
So they've got loads of retro games where I work. But yeah, we just set it up. What games we playing? Jet Set Radio.
Ah, yes, that
That was a
classic.
good game, man. I remember that one.
That was a good game.
We still don't have bass.
Oh no,
Bass fishing.
the good old Sega bass
Yeah.
fishing. You can get that on Xbox Live if you really want
No,
to,
I'm
but
alright.
I wouldn't.
Yeah.
No, I think the Dreamcast. I probably will start talking about the Dreamcast a little bit more because I've got a pile of about 30 games
Yeah.
for my
To be-
Dreamcast.
I am a fan of the Dreamcast. I think in the same way that people who are fans of the Wii and Wii U are, like, they must know that it's probably not the best console out there.
Yeah.
But you just love it so much, and that's what I was like with the Dreamcast. I don't care. This is awesome. I've got Crazy Taxi. You haven't got Crazy Taxi for another 2 years, so.
That's exactly how it ended up being. But it had a lot of its own games, and funnily enough, some of the really cool stuff on there. And there was 2 RPGs that were fantastic on there: Grandia 2 and Skies of Arcadia.
Okay.
I've been trying to get hold of Skies of Arcadia. It's actually, even on eBay, it tends to go for around £40 still.
Whoa.
So I won't be getting that anytime soon. But both of those games were actually ported onto other consoles later on, like the PS2 for Grandia 2 and the GameCube for Skies of Arcadia, just because they were good enough that you didn't have to do a lot of work to port them across.
Yeah.
Because they were fantastic graphics, even for that day, when it was the old days of graphics. We weren't as fantastic as we are now.
Oh, I have another slight interruption as well.
Go
on. I set up my Dreamcast. No, not Dreamcast. The Mega Drive at work.
Yeah.
The other day, and plugged all that in. And I was reading on top of it. It's the original one as well, like proper old school. And it's like 16-bit, and then above that it says high definition graphics. It's like, yes.
High definition.
Oh yes.
Awesome.
I've got a HD Sega Mega Drive.
Yeah. I mean, at the time it was high definition, just not high definition as we know it.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's HD, Jim, just not as we know it.
Absolutely. So I think there'll probably be a bit more talk from the Dreamcast from me, especially
retro
Grandia
section.
2. Yes, well, me and retro sections, that tends to be how it'll go. Shall I talk about one more thing?
If you like.
We got time?
Yeah, I think we've got time.
Okay.
The host and I say we've got time.
Yeah.
Yes. So, like Ayden, I've been experimenting with that mystical reading thing,
Wow.
which was a little bit weird,
What's
but you
this,
know,
what's this like, this reading thing?
you have no idea. You won't be able to do it.
Ah, is it quite complicated?
Yeah, you just won't be able to handle it, Mike. So don't worry about it.
All right, then.
Just listen to the stories that Ayden and I tell you.
Have you been reading 0.4 like me?
I haven't.
Uh-huh.
No, because otherwise this would make a really boring podcast.
The sequel's 0.5.
Oh,
Is there a sequel?
not that I know of.
Oh, they should do 0.
But it would be an interesting sequel.
Anyway, what have I been reading? I've started reading I've actually read the first book of the trilogy. I can't remember what the trilogy's called collectively, but the first book is called The Knife of Never Letting Go. Now, I was intrigued about this just because of the title at first, which is what kind of struck me when I was
That's
in the
not a
bookshop.
sentence.
Yeah, exactly. It's funny because the books don't have proper sentences for the names of the books. I think the next one is called The Ask and the Answer,
Okay.
which isn't quite a sentence
No.
either, I don't think. But anyway, this is a story about a 13-year-old called Todd. Now, it's kind of probably along the same vein as 0.4 in that it's probably aimed a little bit more at kids, probably around the 15, 16-year-olds.
Yeah.
But it actually has got...
I need to interrupt you a second. I just think it's great that we're that old now that we can talk about
I can't-
16-year-olds as kids.
We
Yeah,
don't
see, the
care.
thing is, I kind of don't now because I work with 16-year-olds. They're not really children to me, like, because a lot of them are quite clever. And
When you
they
get
know
to
their
our
stuff.
age,
Yeah. Oh,
So, yeah,
I'll tell
it's-
you what.
I used to be like that, but now I'm like, no, actually, these are young men and girls, and young girls,
Young girls.
young women. It's something else, and but yeah, carry on.
Anyway,
Your book.
moving back. So it's the same, level as things like Harry Potter and that
Yeah.
sort of thing. Basically, it's about a kid called Todd who lives in this town, which is a really unusual town. There's no women, for a start. Disappointed, I know, Mike. I
Sausage
saw that
fest.
face.
Sausage
Saw that
fest.
face. There's no women. And all of the men emanate this thing called the noise. And it's basically all of their thoughts being thrown out into the world.
Oh, that suck.
It's horrible, the
I'd be
concept of
arrested.
it. This is why I liked this book, though, because it throws all these concepts at you that you can't quite get your head around because you'll never experience them.
Yeah.
But they actually try to explain them. So he's in this town. He's the youngest person in the town, and you only become a man. I think actually he's not quite 13 because you become a man at 13 in this town,
Right.
apprentice town, and he's the youngest because all the women were actually killed about 13 years ago, so just after his birth, and all of the other kids have become men since. So he feels like he's like the bottom of the pile. He's the only child, basically. And whenever anyone else becomes an adult or a man, they stop talking to him.
yeah.
So he doesn't like this, and he's ended up... Basically, the beginning of the story is him and his dog. Now, this is where, again, another part of this world gets a little bit interesting, is animals can talk.
Standard.
Which I think is pretty standard.
Yeah.
But I liked it because it
Is it a
actually
voice tracking
sets...
dog?
No, because it sets animals at the level of intelligence that you would expect them to be set at. So the dog has got a certain degree of, knowledge. He understands when he needs to go to the loo and stuff. But he'll quite often ask Todd things because he doesn't understand them. And
What are you doing that with your groin?
yeah, stuff like that. my favourite were the sheep, because the sheep only know one word, and it's sheep. Which I was just overjoyed by this, because the little dog, I think his name was Manchi or something like that, and Manchi would run over to the sheep shouting sheep, and all the sheep would shout back sheep, and it was just really surreal. But anyway,
I quite like the sound of this.
it's quite comical. It's not intended to be funny as such, but it's got these nice comedy moments in it, and it's got these nice ideas. But what you then start finding out is that a lot of things that Todd thinks are true start becoming a little bit less true. And his world starts falling apart around him. He thought that all the women had died, due to the same thing, which
Are you
of
going to give
course
spoilers away?
I am a little bit,
Okay.
but it doesn't matter. It's totally worth it. I'm not going to give away all the spoilers because this is very early spoilers.
Alright.
Basically, I'm not even going to tell you what does happen instead.
It's Earth all along.
Yes. It's not actually Earth, but it's actually people who came from Earth.
Aha.
And they're settlers. And they came to this planet, which is New World, because they're all imaginative. And they came to New World about 20 years prior. And then all of these things, they started discovering these things. They discovered an alien called the Spackle. I know, it's a terrible name. They actually named the Spackle because that's the only word that they could see in the Spackle's writing, which they could put actual sound to.
Okay.
So they called them the Spackle. And Todd's knowledge of the world is they landed, they had a war with the Spackle, they won the war, but the Spackle used all of this germ warfare. So they used germ warfare to try and kill all the livestock, but they made them talk instead. They used germ warfare to try and actually make all of the humans die, but it made the men emanate this noise, and it made the women die.
Okay.
But then it turns out a lot of this isn't actually true, or it's mistruths. And as basically Todd gets banished from the from Prentice Town because he discovers there's a young girl he finds who's crash landed.
Right.
And because he discovers her, in fact no, he discovers that after he's banished, but he finds out some piece of information somehow that he's not meant to know about. They banish him, and then he meets this girl. And this was because I don't want to give away too many spoilers, but one of the dynamics I really liked in this book was Todd doesn't know how to read a girl. Girls don't emanate the noise, and his entire life he hasn't had to learn body language because everybody's thoughts were there on a plate for him to see.
Yeah.
So he doesn't know how to recognise body language. He's never so much as seen a woman apart from in other men's thoughts, where funnily enough, they're a lot more blonde and busty than perhaps they probably are in real life, because that's how men are remembering them. But there's a lot of dynamic here. He doesn't know how to act around this girl, and she doesn't know how to act around him, and he frightens her a lot because his thoughts are all out there on a plate for her. Now he's not thinking Mikey thoughts.
Well, you don't know what they could be. They're quite random.
But we could all have a guess.
I'm not Stu, just say it like that.
But what he is doing is he's thinking things like, oh my god, I've got this disease which makes the noise, which also killed all of the women. So she gets terrified because she thinks that she's going to die now because she might catch this disease off him.
Yeah.
Because all of the women caught the disease and died. As they journey further, you find out that this isn't all necessarily true. They go to other villages where women are still alive and are living with men who have got the noise. And I'm not going to ruin too much more, so I've already ruined a tiny bit. But you start finding out that a lot of what Todd initially believed to be completely true falls apart a little bit.
So that's only a little bit that you've ruined. That sounds like an entire book.
This is probably the first quarter of the book.
Right.
And there's loads more to come. And I've just started the second
How
part of it.
long are they?
Probably about 500 pages each.
Yeah, that's alright.
They're decent. I definitely recommend it. I will probably report on the next one once I've read a little bit more of it, because I'm only about 100 pages in. But I'm really enjoying it, and it's just another style of book. And the other interesting bit, just to throw in one last part, which I liked, is when you normally read a book and it's from a first-person point of view, you still see that when it's written in proper English.
Yeah.
This isn't written in proper English, because Todd's a bit of a hick. As a lot of them are on New World, because they all moved to New World because they wanted to be it was New World, because they want to have a more simple life, and it's a farming life, and it's the quiet life without technology. So they've all developed this kind of like poor language and everything, and the book's written like that. So as you read it, you're having to get used to the fact that he'll use ain't instead of isn't. And they actually spell the words wrong as well. So things like if you say destination, he doesn't spell it like that. He actually spells it with S-H-U-N at the end, because that's what it is in his head, and that's probably what it is in the language by the time we've got to this point, and they've been on their own for 20 years.
Which makes sense.
It does. It's just really interesting that you have to get used to reading it, and I actually struggled for the first couple of chapters and thought this is going to get on my nerves, and it did. But by the end of it, you're reading it, just as you always would, without even realising that it's it's written in quite a strange way.
As someone who's dyslexic, I think I'd get on with that fine.
I think
But yeah,
probably
this makes sense.
absolutely okay.
Yes.
But Mike wouldn't because he can't read.
It's true.
So that's everything from me, I think. But so things I'd recommend today. That Dungeons and Dragons. I can't even remember what the subtitle of it is again.
I didn't write it down. I'm afraid.
Tales of Mystaria, I believe it is, or something like that, or Mystara. I definitely recommend The Knife of Never Letting Go because it's a very cool book, and get a Dreamcast.
Yeah.
You can pick them up pretty cheap now as well.
Yeah, screw the next generation. Go back a generation.
Absolutely.
You can pick them up for about 20 quid.
Yes,
So,
you can, and they're well worth it.
Yeah, and sometimes they break, but that's okay because there are YouTube videos on how to fix them. As I found out the other day.
But they are much better in that respect than an Xbox that's dying to fall apart.
It says, just take the cover off. On the laser, there's a little bit at the back, the red thing. Turn it 3mm, it'll work fine. It works fine.
Excellent.
Awesome.
Genius. So,
Well, I think it's my time.
It is.
It's some Mikey time. Well, first,
it's Mikey time.
some Mikey time.
Yeah.
Okay then. We are, as you've all accused me of illiteracy, I'm going to talk about the book I've just started. Yeah.
Nice.
Is it quite challenging?
Yeah.
Do you want me to read it out to you?
Well, it's written in English,
Good.
but it's not about English people.
Okay.
It's a history book, as I invariably end up reading, and it's called Lords of the Horizon, and it's about the Ottoman Empire, which I think you all know. You should know. It is.
I don't know.
You don't know anything about the Ottoman Empire?
That's what Australia used to be like before we went over 50 years ago. It had an Ottoman Empire.
Yeah.
There you go.
There you go.
That's Mikey's book.
Yeah. So is this fiction or is it?
Oh no, it's
a proper history book?
It's a proper history book. It's
Well, as far as history, a lot of it's made up.
yeah, we all know that. World War III, that stuff that never happened.
No. No, it didn't. Good.
But yeah, it's quite interesting. I haven't got that far into it yet, so I'm not going to go on for ages. But so far, it's just been, thank you, been telling us about the foundation of the Ottoman Empire, which was a lot more violent than I even thought.
Tell me a bit about the Ottoman Empire, because as we said, I don't know anything about it, so I don't know what era we're talking, or
We're talking late medieval, just before the Renaissance, really.
sort of year. Or, if I was going to get in a time machine and I wanted to check out the Ottoman Empire, where would I be going?
1962, France.
No.
Well,
it's Turkey, or what would eventually become Turkey, and
Ooh.
from the late 1300s is just before the empire was forged, and until World War One was when it actually first became dissembled. Because the British, go on Britain.
Thinking about it, I have heard of the Ottoman Empire, and I remember reading it as something that happened just before World War One.
Well, the Turks, they were actually a steppe people from Central Asia who actually probably came from part of Mongolia, and they eventually went all the way into the Near East, as they call it, which is what we call the Middle
Slight
East.
interruption. A lot of them are still travelling around as well
Yes.
in Turkey, claiming that they're not ready to settle yet.
Well, fair play to them, they are nomadic people originally.
Yeah, what's a few hundred years more?
That's one of the things I remember learning when I went to Turkey.
Yeah.
Yeah, between the pubs.
Yeah. Because you would have been nomadic yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they came down from the steppes, they converted to Islam, they started working for all the different Islamic caliphates and sultanates, pretty much as mercenaries, and then they decided, one of them decided, Osman, that he's going to take his little principality and turn it into a big kingdom, and it just started growing. They conquered the Byzantines, which was pretty much the remnants of the Roman Empire, which survived until late 1400s.
Okay.
Yeah, and then that's as far as I got. They've just taken Constantinople and it's now Istanbul.
Ooh.
Yes. And I'll might do a review on it if it's any good or if it's really bad.
You're going to review your own book?
What do you mean? I haven't written this.
Oh, I thought you said this is your book that you've written as I what?
No, he's not that good.
No.
My
can't
apologies.
write.
I wouldn't write a book on the Ottomans, to be honest, because I don't know that much about them, hence why I'm reading a book on
I
them.
thought you were just telling us about a book that you've written. Or that you're writing.
No, I've only been writing science fiction, really, but like the Ottomans, they had lasers.
Well, I have heard that as well.
And speaking of lasers, let's go on to the other thing. I've recently got a good laptop that's got the specs, minus the graphic. Excuse me there. Bit of a Frenchie in my throat. See what I did there?
I did.
Yeah.
You carry on.
Yeah. Where was I now? Oh, yes.
Your
I
laptop.
don't want to ruin it because I know what you're getting at,
Yeah.
and I'll be taking
Well,
away
Your laptop's average.
Yeah, it's got the specs similar to a PS4/Xbox One. So it's pretty good. So I've finally been able to play a game I wanted to play for ages, but my old laptop wouldn't run it, which is Star Wars: The Old Republic.
Ah, yes.
So finally, after how many years, I've finally joined.
Probably about 2.
Is it only 2? Oh.
2.5, I think.
This is my first Memorpaga, as they are known.
Ah, so you're a Memorpaga virgin.
I was until this.
So what are you thinking about it?
I'm really enjoying it, actually. I've actually paid money.
Have you really?
I paid money to EA, of all people.
I think this, for those of you who don't know Mikey, this is an astonishing piece of news which
It's,
I wasn't aware of.
This is huge.
Especially as the game is free to play at the moment.
I'm not sure how to deal with this information.
Well, I just thought the game's so good that BioWare deserve a bit of money for it, and I'll get some bonuses for it. I'll level up faster, I'll get some bits of junk that I don't really need, but you know.
Oh, Mikey, I'm so proud of
I
you.
thought it was just because you loved EA.
Well, I love what they what they publish. I just don't love how they do it.
Yeah.
As I was talking to someone on the chat, you know, I'd be happier with EA if they just rename themselves Cerberus and be done with it, because then we'd know what to expect from them.
Yes.
Oh, I love that. As I was talking to somebody on the chat, so yeah, you're in. That's it.
Yeah.
It's taking you in. You will never escape.
Yeah, it's true. I am quite hooked on it. I've got a couple of characters already.
And what sort of levels are we,
I've
we
got
at?
a Sith Sorcerer, which I always thought was a weird name, a sorcerer for something Star Wars, but obviously they ran out of things to call their subclasses, which is pretty much you can choose. You start off with an Inquisitor or a Warrior. This is for the Sith. There's other classes as well. And Warriors, you're fighting, well, your melee combat, and your Inquisitor is your kind of lightning/healing. And I went for that first, and then you get 3 trees of like specification for each character. So with the other one, I went down 2 trees because I wanted to do some healing and some lightning.
Okay.
But it got really hard on that character, and then so I started another character as a warrior, and it's so piss easy compared to it was an Inquisitor, because rather than having to spend ages healing your companion, you just go up and fucking twat him one.
That's a good tactic.
It is. It's just like poof, gone.
Yeah, see, I did actually play it in the first few weeks of it coming out.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably changed absolutely loads since.
Yeah, like there's a lot more restrictions on it now.
Yes, although having said that, it wasn't free to play when
Yeah.
I first got it, so I actually had to pay. But I think all of the characters were an option to use.
Yeah, this one is like you're going to get certain characters for certain classes. So if you want to be a Sith warrior, you can only be a human, a Zabrak, which is what Darth Maul is,
Right.
and a Sith, which is the actual species of Sith, the name from. Basically.
Can you be Jar Jar Binks?
You can't be a Gungan, no.
What the hell, man?
I know.
I'm okay with it.
I was more disappointed you can't be a Mon Calamari, which is what Admiral Akbar is, the fish people.
I saw a meme, I think it was today, and it was a mouse trap with his face on it, and it just said, if you get this straight away, then like it. It's like, I don't like these pictures that say like this if you get it, or like this for this. It's like, but I had to like that one because that was funny. It's a trap!
It's a trap!
Yeah. You can get one as a companion if you were one of the Republic players. But boo the Republic, they suck.
Yeah.
I played the Republic.
I have got a Jedi.
Yeah, I wanted to have a go with a Jedi. I thought it was quite cool.
Yeah.
I think I had like a Jedi Sentinel or something like
Yeah.
that. I remember using that when I played Knights of the Old Republic though, so I was reliving the glory days.
Yes, KOTOR 1 and 2 you could be a Sentinel.
Yes.
But
Yellow lightsabers? I feel like it was yellow lightsabers.
But you could change the crystal.
You could.
Red.
We're getting geeky now though.
Yeah.
Didn't you say something about how all the people who played Jedi's are pretty much dicks, and all the people who play Sith are nice, good people.
I wouldn't generalise that much, but basically after...
Too late, it's done. Word straight from Mikey, all Jedis are dicks.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of Jedis anyway, but for like over a week on the Sith chat, it was really friendly. Within 5 minutes of logging in onto the Republic server, it was just like... the first thing that happened was someone wrote something in Spanish, and someone said, "Fuck off back to Mexico." Hang on, this is a European server, so he's mainly just Spanish, not Mexican. I was like, "Oh, you Jedi scum."
Yeah, I come up with a small theory for this.
Okay.
I think people who are Sith just because, you know, it's something different. I'm a nice guy all the time. I'm going to be a bit of a dick in the computer game, but I can still be nice to people. It's who I am. However, I reckon the Jedis, not all of them, but a lot of them will be the people who are like, I'm so awesome, I need to be the hero, and everybody else around me is not as good as me.
I think you were actually onto something there, you know.
It's more than feasible, isn't it?
So the chances are, if you go straight for Jedi, you are the dick.
Yes, it's true. I could go
That'd be me. That'd be me.
That's you, Jason, you're a dick.
What's great is though...
What can I do?
The Sith Warrior, you get... Well, your companions are good because... Let's go about the companion system first. It means that you don't have to be multiplayer on these MMO. You can just fuck off everyone else if you really want to. Just do it on your own. Which is what I've mainly been doing. I've joined up with a few people now and then, but overall I just stick on my own and just do the missions. And
Hang out with your pretend mates.
Pretend mate. Well, with my little companion.
Yeah, pretend mate.
My pretend mate, yeah. But the one you get as a Sith Warrior is this little Twilight girl, and it's great because she comes with a shock collar. So every time she says anything really that's, you know, might irritate you in the slightest.
Nice. Do you have control of this shock collar?
Yeah, it's only in cutscenes, but like if she said something too, you know, too smug or too nice or too, you know, whatever you don't agree with, you can just electrically gives you the option to shock her.
That's awesome.
That is fantastic.
Yeah, which is a bit different because she's actually a goody character. She's a slave who's been captured by the Sith. Well, when you play the Sith Inquisitor, you get Ken Val, who's this ancient beast monster creature from like thousands of years ago, who's been locked in his tomb, and he just encourages you just to do evil stuff. He just wants you to constantly fight so he can consume them. He says, I don't know if you never see him eating anyone, but he says he's always hungry. He's just this bug ugly thing. He looks like he's been hit in the face with a hedgehog.
Cool.
So I've got a question for you before we end up finishing on this. I believe he's in there. HK47.
I've asked around at this because I love HK47. I know for a fact.
Should we explain who he is first?
HK47 is like the evil straight C-3PO.
Yeah, that's probably the best definition you could give.
Yeah.
Isn't he an assassin droid?
Yeah, he's a prototype assassin droid that was made by Revan or for Revan in KOTOR 1, and he's in KOTOR 2 as well.
But he's just such an awesome character.
Yeah, he gets all the best lines.
And I know I saw a trailer somewhere for the Old Republic with him in it.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything more about that, and I was wondering, being that you've actually played it far more recently than I have, has he cropped up?
He hasn't cropped up yet. I've asked people about it. Some people reckon he's in it, but I haven't seen it. But I do know that you can get a HK52, which is a silver version. Because there were HK50s in KOTOR 2, which were like a replacement model for him, and they were hunting you down. And I think this is like a model to one from there.
Okay.
And you can definitely get them because I looked that on the kind of SWTOR wiki thing. Because it gives you a list.
You're looking at the wikis as well. You're a proper Mamorpugger player.
I am now. Yeah, I've fallen.
Yes.
To the dark side.
I never thought it. And you paid money as well.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so weird, Mikey.
It was $18.99 for 2 months.
If you're getting your time out of it, though.
Yeah, exactly. I've paid more for games that I've played for 14 hours. So
yeah.
I've paid double that for games I've played for 14 hours. So
it's valid. I think if you like a game, I do this with a lot of games where they're free to play on the iPad and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Is if I play it enough, I do think, I will buy a few coins or whatever because the developers deserve a little bit of money off me.
Yeah,
if I spend hours using something, pay a little bit for it. I think that's a good mould for everybody to perhaps have.
And if everyone goes with that, then hopefully that's the way games will go in future. Cheaper games, but you can buy extras.
Yeah.
I think it's a good way. I know there's a lot of controversy around it, and that might be, as I say on most of our podcasts, maybe that's a discussion for another podcast.
Maybe.
To be fair, we've had that discussion so many times, but I think it's one that you either agree with it or you don't.
It'll always crop up though, won't it?
I think most of us agree with it. For microtransactions are fine as long as you haven't spent 40 quid on the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the rule.
Yeah.
Dead Space 3, we're talking to you.
Yeah, but EA mainly, because they're the ones who do all that.
They're the ones
That's Dead Space 3.
Yeah,
isn't
that's
it?
Dead Space as well. Yeah.
They're the ones who hack out missions from the original game and then sell it to you as DLC.
Yeah, pretty much.
Again, but yeah, we won't dwell too much on that because we'll get upset.
No, we only talk about we only slag EA off every podcast. So.
Yeah.
Only a little bit.
We'll be quite light on them in this one.
Yeah. I don't think there's anything we've got on them today. So.
Yeah. Thank you for SWTOR making it free. That's all you're gonna get out of me though.
They only made it free because everyone else made their more because free.
Yeah, true.
But anyway.
And BioWare deserve the credit because they actually made it.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, then I think
you won't give I don't know, some other book. You won't give a book credit for, or you won't give Penguin credit for writing a book, would you?
No.
It's
No,
a similar thing for me.
Yeah.
it
Fair
is
comment.
the same thing, really.
Apart from you get pissed off at Penguin if they went, buy this book, but if you want an extra chapter,
If
you
you want
have to
the
give us
last
extra
chapter.
money. Exactly.
But look, even EA don't take the ending away from you. Well,
No, yeah.
BioWare did took the ending away from you there. Ooh, Mass Effect 3.
Yeah.
I think it's time for the news then.
News.
News.
First on the news, I'm going to go on about Microsoft developing 3D touchscreen technology.
Yeah, you know more about this than anyone else.
Well, I don't know, perusing the icon. What it is, it's a 3D TV that is on some sort of robotic arm, and it's a touchscreen as well. So when you touch an item and you push into it, if it's like a bouncy item, the screen will go back and forward really quickly, like as you touch it. So it'll give you the illusion that you're touching something soft and bouncy. Well, if you're touching something hard, it'll stay rigid and you'll be pushing against it and it won't move. So it's potentially.
If only people could see your hand actions.
I know, they're quite obscene. But yeah, it's got potential. We'll see what happens. I wouldn't get too excited about it yet. 10 years, it would probably be something awesome.
Yeah.
But it's early days on this sort of thing.
Saying that, how long's it been since they developed touchscreen? About 5 years?
Yeah, but mainly it's
Yeah.
used on phones, really. And
Yeah, but that's all we want it for.
But
Or
you know,
gaming in general.
tablets have properly come into their own over the last couple of years.
Yeah, so the last 2 years are definitely.
Very, very serious parts of gaming now.
I'd give this 5 to 10 years, I think.
But yeah, 10 years we'll probably have something really awesome.
Yeah,
Like an
hopefully.
Omni-tool.
Oh, the Omni-tool.
An Omni-tool would be awesome.
That would be cool, man.
Okay, I think that's enough of that. And then the next article is written as Xbox free game flop.
Oh, shall I do this?
I think you should.
I think flop may be too strong a word.
Yeah, these are just
although-
my notes.
Yes.
Like he's reading directly
I
from.
thought it's a good name for this article.
Flop's a good word.
It is.
I like the word flop.
It's
But
got connotations in poker and in
Sex.
Oh, no, let Mikey say it. I wanted to see what he was going to
So
say.
I was going to say something to do with impotence or something like
Yeah,
that.
well, you know.
But the power was
Anyway.
taken from me.
It was like impotence.
Exactly.
Moving on though, shall we actually talk about Microsoft's flop?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I just thought this was. It started off as, I think, quite a good story, and it's kind of falling apart a little bit for me. I don't know if everyone remembers, but at E3, Microsoft basically said, okay, until the Xbox One's released, we're going to start giving away some free games.
Which is quite good.
I thought so. Nothing amazing. I think they were saying things like Halo 3,
Yeah.
Assassin's Creed 2.
Yeah.
So none of the absolute, heavy hitters, but we would, and they were quite old games, but something free is something free,
Exactly,
isn't it?
yeah.
So that's the idea they threw at us. They didn't give a lot of detail. But what they did do straight away is allow you to have Fable 3.
Mm-hmm.
Not a bad game. So, and that was available immediately. They then said, right, we're going to do change that game every 2 weeks, or twice a month, or something along those lines.
Yeah.
So imagine everybody's disappointment a couple of days ago when they got to the second game and decided they'd release a 4-year-old arcade game as their free game.
Yeah.
I think everyone was a little bit disappointed. Don't get me wrong, it's Defence Grid. It's a castle defence type game.
Right.
And it's a really good castle defence type game.
That's not what you expected.
But it's not what I expected. Plus I own it, so I was even more disappointed.
Yeah.
But it's just a bit sad that they went in trying to copy Sony, I think, with the PlayStation Network Plus. And obviously we probably all know that Sony give away quite a few free games each month, whereas essentially we'll only be getting 2 from Microsoft. It would have been good for them to throw in some slightly bigger
games that will, big games when they first come out, even if they're old. So
yes.
Games that people might not have bought before, like say
Mirror's Edge.
Yeah, Mirror's Edge would have been cool.
99 Nights. I mean, I know it's the first ever game that came out, but
pretty much, yeah. But
it's still a free
full game. Yeah, I never played it, so
it was a good game. I'd be disappointed because I still own that, but that's not the point. Because I think there's a lot of things. Yeah, Mirror's Edge would be fantastic to give away for free.
Yeah.
And I think they should try and use this opportunity to get some of those old games out there.
Especially ones they're going to be making sequels to for the Xbox One.
It's advertising in its one of its best forms.
Yeah. Do you think it's because they've thought, like you said, we've got to do this because PlayStation are doing it, but it was a last minute thing maybe, and they only managed to get one game to sign up to it, and since then no one signed up to it.
See, I strongly suspect that because I believe, although people will correct me if I'm wrong, maybe on the comments, I believe that Fable 3 is a Microsoft Studios game. I'm not sure. Well, obviously, Assassin's Creed 2 isn't because that's Ubisoft.
Yeah. But Halo 3
is Microsoft as well. Yeah. So it doesn't sound like they've actually got a lot of stuff under there. So you're probably right.
If they're going to give away arcade games, though, why don't they give away a bundle of them, like 2, 3, 4 of them or something?
Maybe they don't have enough.
That is
There's quite a lot of arcade games out there.
Yeah, but maybe they don't have access to them.
Yeah, I don't think Microsoft actually did many themselves.
Yeah.
A lot of them are done by small developers. I don't think there's any harm in them.
And you've got to bear in mind the small developers, the indie games, aren't extremely happy with Microsoft at the moment anyway, because they're making it next to impossible, if not very hard, for them to develop on the Xbox One.
Yeah, so we're here.
So
it's not going well.
No.
I think we'll give what's it called? They call it Games for Gold or something like that. Is the name of the program, the promotion? Yes. I think we'll see how it goes, but at the moment, no one's very happy about that. Having said that, if you have got a gold account, go and get Defence Grid. I can't recommend it more as far as castle defence games go. There aren't many on the Xbox, but this is one of the best ones.
Okay.
And on to the next piece of news.
Yes, Xbox One will be using QR codes instead of 16-digit redeem codes, which makes it a bit quicker. So it's not a massive development, but it means it'll be a lot easier for people to just go beep on their Connects rather than.
Does everyone know what a QR code is?
It's kind of hard to explain what that is, isn't it? It's a picture with dots in it.
Yeah, white and black stickers that are all like pixelated. You see them around a lot, but.
It's. Maybe one of the reasons, well, I think it's probably one of the selling points for this is why you need to connect, because it'll make your life a lot easier. It'll save you 30 seconds of your time before you play a game.
Oh, it'll save so much time, won't it?
But I can't see this being a game changer.
No, but I think at the same time, when I saw that, my eyebrows did rise a little bit. I was like, oh, that's quite clever. I do like that. But at the same time, once you sit there and think about it a little while, it's like, yeah, but it's not really, like you said, it's not a game changer. It's a small thing, and maybe all the small things together will make enough for people to go out and go, you know what, this is worth getting. But on its own, it's not great. But
no,
it's interesting. I like it.
It's a step forward.
Yeah, I really do like this. But.
Okay then. GTA 5 will need to be installed on consoles. 8 GB free space is required.
Yep.
You just read that straight off the screen.
I did.
I haven't written this as if you're going to read it. So,
so that was pretty much
that works.
Yeah.
Remind me, because I can't remember this. GTA 5, that's coming out on current generation and next generation.
I don't know if it's next gen.
See, if it's only current generation, then it's a fuck you to people who bought new Xboxes.
Not really, because Rockstar Rockstar don't care about consoles at all. They don't care about consoles. They don't care about Christmas. They don't care about any holidays or anything. They just go, we're building a game, it'll be ready when it's ready. To be fair, it's usually ready the third or fourth quarter, but if it needs postponing, it will postpone it, like they did with Max Payne. That was meant to be out in November.
Yeah.
They postponed that
I
until
would
March.
not be able to play this game full stop because I don't have that. I have a new Xbox which doesn't have a hard drive. It's got a 2 gigabyte shitty little
4 gig.
4 gig.
But still, yeah.
That's half the space.
But most people don't. Most people, and I know that's still. But to make this game function properly for the majority of people, because when you install the game onto your hard drive, you remember when you were playing, say, Vice City, and as you were driving down the road, the buildings would pop up in the distance.
Yeah.
Installing it to your hard drive will stop that from happening.
That doesn't really bother me that much.
Well, it may not
I know
bother
it'll
you,
make the
but
game
it'll
better.
make the game look a lot better. So I can see why they're saying you kind of need to do this. And the map is so big that you can't have all that space on one disc anyway. So it actually comes in 2 discs now, and you have to install the map separately to play the game.
Yeah. I know this.
I'm with you. I'm disappointed because
It's just
I
another.
use the same Xbox.
After GTA 4, it's another thing Rockstar have done that made me think, yeah, they used to be great, then they're okay now. Or they're good, they're not great.
I think they're still very customer based, which I like about them.
I think it'll be interesting. GTA 5 will be interesting. I didn't love GTA 4. I thought that it lost its way a little bit. I know it had some phenomenal reviews and it did really well.
And it has some great online things as well. The online modes. I know people who are still playing the online modes because they are quite good fun.
But I think seeing how this one goes, I think will probably make or break the series again.
Yeah. Actually, in relation to GTA 5, they've also come out saying that you can play all 3 characters pretty much at the same time, that you can switch between which character you're playing during the mission. So that makes me think that all 3 characters are going with you all the time, and you have more of a team that you can switch between. Yeah, it's definitely a very, very different.
As long as you don't have to babysit the other 2, that'll be alright.
Well, yeah, this is it. But we'll
have
see.
to wait and see, won't we? Yeah.
It's one of those things I do like Rockstar, because they do develop good games. They do try to be progressive, and they do every so often chuck in the oddball to say, you know what, let's see if this works. Because even if this doesn't work, then they're still going to release a GTA 6 because it sells. People buy it, and people did like 4. Like you said, it got brilliant reviews. I just think it's the old school people who liked the original GTAs. They're like, this is too different for me.
It wasn't the differentness. It was just the style.
But that's the thing. The style was so different.
Yeah. I mean, you know, a lot of people complain that the driving was a lot more realistic, and that took some of the fun out. That didn't bother me. It was purely the whole grittiness they tried to add. We don't need. There's too much grit in games these days, anyway. That's something Yahtzee always goes on about. Is everything has to be shaded grey and brown, and everyone's miserable. We don't need. That's what GTA was. It was a break from all that. It was somewhat joyously fun to play. And you could take that away from it, then you're just ruining the series, and that's why Saints Row creeped up, because they gave you the other option.
You could have a laugh on Saints Row and do some stuff a bit mad. I used to love playing Saints Row 3 just for the bit where whenever you died you respawn on the roof of your penthouse and you got to go and run and jump off and use a parachute to land into the city, and I just loved that because I didn't mind dying, so I thought I get to run and jump off the roof again. Fantastic. And you're right, that's why I personally think out of Saints Row 4 and GTA 5, I'm going to like Saints Row 4 substantially more. I'm
going for it as well. Plus, mechs, superpowers, dubstep gun, black hole gun. Black hole gun now. I've seen that looks awesome, so yeah.
They're just going all out, aren't they? I'm okay with that.
It does screw with that series though, because what can they do after that, really?
Oh, they'll find some.
You have to be a god in the next game or something. But enough of that, I think.
Enough of that, yeah, because we banged on about that for far too long.
Yeah. And now it's time to talk about Love Film. They've stopped doing game rentals.
Well, yeah.
For new customers.
Oh, for new customers.
From now, it's new customers, or from a week ago.
Yeah.
And from some unknown sources, i.e. Paul, he says that they're going to stop doing it for existing customers in August as well.
8th of August, I believe. The internet was telling me yesterday.
Yeah, so there's 2 of Clash Planet's researchers coming ahead saying, "Yep, 8th of August."
Yeah, it's quite a big move for them, I think, because I think their game rental. Where else are you going to rent games from now in the UK at least?
Well, me and Paul have been. Well, I say me and Paul. I've just been bitching about it. Paul's been doing some research. There are a couple of sites. I forgot what one is, but Blockbuster apparently still exists, so you can rent games off them online.
Oh, okay.
I was looking at them earlier. You can get 2 discs at a time, unlimited access, but only 2 discs at a time. So like Love Film at the moment, for £10 a month, which is actually £2 cheaper than what I pay for Love Film.
This could actually save Blockbuster's ass.
Yeah,
maybe. The only worry you've got is why Love Film pulling out of this.
I know.
Are they not making money?
Well, that's not my concern, because to be honest, I think if they were pulling out of it, then everything else is going to end soon anyway. More of a concern for me is it something the next gen consoles are saying we're not allowing rentals or something like that, and they're just going, you know what, we're pulling the plug now whilst we're ahead.
Yeah,
could well be
to
the case.
do that.
I'm really hoping it's not, because that would suck. I'd really like to be able to rent next gen console games as well, because it saves me a whole lot of money. If I'm paying £12 a month and I can play 2 new release games, I'm saving a lot of money. So
totally worth it.
Yeah, definitely. But we'll see. And even when I do that as well, I don't mind paying for the online passes then as well, because then at most I've spent £30 on 2 games. So,
yeah,
but
perfectly fair.
We'll see. I'm hoping I'm wrong in that assumption, but yeah,
we shall see. Yes,
we shall see.
Dark times for Love Film and rental gamers.
Yes, dark times ahead of us. And speaking of dark times, Walking Dead 400 Days just released.
That fitted very well. I like
that
it.
Was completely unplanned.
So that was released. What's the date today?
It's not released until tomorrow.
Well, it's not released till tomorrow on the Xbox worldwide. It came out on, which tomorrow for people who listen is the 5th of July. It came out on the 1st of July on the PlayStation Network in America.
Yes,
but there are several dates that go down, but they don't get it in Europe until the 10th PlayStation.
Yeah. So one thing that I know, because I'm normally wearing my I Heart Microsoft t-shirts,
right?
But this is one thing that Microsoft tend to do is when they do a release, it's a worldwide release.
I prefer that.
Yeah.
Sony mess around a little bit with this, and I don't know what causes it, because I can't work out for a second why it can come out in the US and not here.
Or Japan, where Sony's made.
Yeah. So I do find that unfathomable, which is why it's just one thing I like, one of many things I like about Microsoft. But I think it's an important factor. There shouldn't be any messing around with. When did this thing? I mean, I know, 20 years ago, something would get released in the US and we'd have to wait, a few
6
months,
months.
6 months. Gone are those days.
This is why we have to thank video piracy, because they're the reason release dates have been moved closer and closer together. Because if a film comes out 6 months in advance in America, then people over here are going to want to get copy versions of it. So they brought it closer and closer. Like, that's why there are some big blockbusters get released the same day or within a day of each other.
Yeah, controversial but true.
Yeah. Like Game of Thrones, that gets released only a day after in the UK than it does in America.
Which I can accept. I can accept the day.
The day's fine.
The day doesn't bother me too much.
Especially when you consider the time zone thing as well. Really, it's like 12 hours.
Exactly. So that's okay. I don't understand things like you said. This extra expansion to The Walking Dead. No excuse for it being a couple of weeks difference, which I believe
especially when you download it. You don't go to the shop and even buy it. They can put this on the internet. Surprisingly, the internet's quite a quick thing, and people can get it. Apparently, it's global these days.
Yeah, so I've heard.
I heard it's on computers.
Yeah, so I don't see why we can't get it the same day. And I know we're getting it the same day for Xbox, and even if they released it for PlayStation first and Xbox second, that's up to them. That's their deals that they make.
Yeah.
But to say that PlayStation is allowing it 10 days earlier in America, that makes no sense at all. If they've got access to it before the Xbox, it should be out before the Xbox.
Yeah, just doesn't make sense, does it?
No.
But on the plus side, because we perhaps veered off the point of the story a little bit.
Oh yeah, The Walking Dead 400 Days is coming out.
There's a new expansion now. spoilers free at least for me, because I still haven't played past episode 1.
Okay.
But
And I
it
still haven't
sounds
played any.
Right.
it sounds like this is a decent expansion. I don't know a lot about it other than
I've avoided the internet for the last 2 days because there's been. Well, I say avoided the internet. I've avoided stuff where I know I'll find The Walking Dead because it is just everywhere. It's all over YouTube. People like gameplay and all that stuff. So yeah, but the game itself, one of the best really. Going back to The Last of Us, if you've played The Last of Us but you haven't played this, there's a it's very similar in the story, in the character development, in the sense that you play a guy called Lee and you have to look after a little girl called Clementine. Yeah, and it's very similar in that sense. And it's just about their story going through a zombie apocalypse, and the people you meet and the choices you make at the beginning can affect, well, will affect what happens at the end of the entire game. And it took, I think it took about 6 months for the entire game to come out because it comes out in chapters. So
yeah, it was a monthly thing, wasn't it?
Yeah,
But
which was very cool.
This extra one, as I understand it, is a bridging the gap between last season, as they're calling
Yeah.
it, and next season.
And I'm sure I read something somewhere, and I'm not entirely sure, but I think your choices from number 1 will affect how this bridge plays out.
So I've read as well.
But they're refusing to say, or from what I last read anyway, they're refusing to say if what happens in this one will affect season 2. Maybe because they don't know if they can do it multi-platform, so
Yeah.
I think we're going to have to wait and see, aren't
yeah.
we?
If it turns out that it works, like your story continues, but you can't do it across console or cross generation, then I'm just going to get on the 360 because it's a good story and you don't want to start again with something different. But yeah, I definitely. If you haven't played The Walking Dead, then go and play it, and then I recommend getting this expansion pack before it's even out. If you have played The Walking Dead, then you'll have already made your own mind up if you're buying this or not, I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah, fair comment.
Fair point. Then, well, now some news for our friendly wannabe console. I'm only joking-ish. A petition for Nintendo to end region knocking. Ooh, what's the name there?
I can't read the name.
Satoru Iwata.
So he's commented on it recently. This petition came to light in the mainstream about 2-3 days ago, and it was about 10,000. So not a huge amount, but well, yeah, what do you expect really? But it's
Fair play though.
It's just pretty much now that Xbox One have done their U-turn, saying they won't be region locked anymore, which I suppose should have been a bit news in itself. But there you go.
Yeah.
That won't be locked anymore. We're on the 8th gen. We're about to start the 8th gen. The only 8th gen console that will be region locked now is Nintendo.
Yeah.
So Nintendo fans are petitioning to say, why are you the only one that are doing this? And they've pretty much come out and said there's not really much we can do about it now. It's something that's always been in gaming. And it's not something we expected that we need to take out at this moment.
I'd have thought they could do something with
Yeah.
the firmware to stop that. It's a disc and it's a piece of hardware with firmware attached.
You'd
Surely
imagine
you can
so.
split the firmware. The thing I wonder about Nintendo, and this is why I think probably their excuses will be, is Nintendo do tend to release something in Japan before we get it.
Right.
It'll obviously have Japanese writing all over it, etc. But I think it happens a lot more with Nintendo stuff because you've obviously got Mario and all of that stuff. Oh, it's Mario, isn't it? That's pretty much it for Nintendo.
Yeah.
Not Zelda. But
Zelda will crop up at some point, once a generation.
there you go. That's their 2 games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do hate to rip on Nintendo this much,
but they bring it on themselves.
they do with some of the stuff, man.
And I just think that's probably one of the reasons, is because they know that they will want to bring that it'll hold up their release. They'll be able to, rather than having to release something all across the world, they can release something in Japan first because it's already been written for the Japanese. I mean, they have to do the translation stuff. I mean, this is what used to hold up things like RPGs back in like Mega Drive days.
I was in a retro shop the other day, and they had Microsoft Japanese version of Mario Japanese version of one of their games. So what is that doing here? But you just know it's because someone's been like, just ship it to me. I need to play it now. I can't wait 6 months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It begs the question.
You're right. They could easily fix this.
Translation for Mario can't be that difficult, really. It must take about 10 minutes.
Yeah, there's not a lot.
It's me, Mario.
That's kind of it, yeah.
Done. But I was looking at the specs of all 8th generation consoles at the moment. Say at the moment / coming out, and Nintendo just don't fulfill anything that Microsoft or Sony are doing.
Yeah.
I mean, Microsoft and Sony have obviously both got slightly different specs to one another, and they both do slightly different things for certain parts of their specs. But Nintendo, it's just like every single thing was no on the entire chart. Oh my word! How
Can I tell you my favourite thing about the Wii U?
Go on.
I don't know whether I said this on a previous podcast. I might have just thought it. Wii U is Nintendo's first high definition console, because the Wii wasn't high definition.
Right.
So this is their first high definition console, and yet they brought out a controller with a screen on it. So they're doing their absolute best on their first HD console for you to not look at the TV.
It's true.
I just can't get my head around the logic of that.
That after Sega brought their first one out in 1990 on the Mega Drive.
Well,
Yeah.
so we found out.
Yeah, it just seems like another nail in the coffin from I think. And
Yeah.
it kind of is unfortunate because as much as I don't like Nintendo because it's not that I don't dislike them. It's just it doesn't appeal to me. But as much as it doesn't appeal to me, I don't like the idea that the 8th generation will be a 2-horse race.
I'd like to have more horses, but I think Nintendo have dug their own grave here.
It wasn't long ago though that we had 4 consoles in the race. You're only looking 15 years ago.
There are other
Maybe not even
consoles
that, actually.
tempting, aren't they?
Yeah, they're trying to push through, but it's hard to push through. But Nintendo are already there, and they seem to be pushing back.
Yeah, they were they were on the starting blocks first. They started the race first, and yet they're behind already. They're actually behind when the others aren't out.
They went too quick.
I think the point here is don't enter a pony into a horse race.
That's it.
Get a stallion.
Unfortunately, that's what they've done.
Or don't enter a Fisher-Price toy into a horse race.
Yeah.
I'd actually like to see Sega make a bit of a comeback.
I'd love that, but they're owned by Nintendo pretty much these
Yeah,
days.
exactly. And there's no need for them to make a comeback, really.
Yeah.
As long as they're releasing the games everywhere, then I don't care.
Yeah. Great games like what have they
Sonic or something.
Something Sonic related.
Yeah. No, actually, that's all they've got. Forget them.
Yeah.
They released Crazy Taxi. I don't know if they made it, but they did.
There's a few bits and pieces out there
Yeah,
from
I
Sega.
can't think of them off my head, but
Bayonetta. That's Sega, I believe.
God of War, is that pretty much what it is?
Oh, kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
With guns in shoes, what more could you want?
What else could you
Maybe
want?
they should team up. Maybe Atari, Nintendo, and Sega should be like, you know what? I know we've made some mistakes, but let's just get our heads together and let's get ourselves back in this race.
I know, I'm just worried that the next generation after this one is going to be Apple will come out with their console.
I don't want that.
I don't want it.
If another one's going to push through, it's going to be Apple.
Yeah.
I don't want that.
They're going to
because that'd be microtransaction to crap.
Yeah. They'll be
It's
watching.
already going on, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
The iPad's there. And
I don't mind that. They can have their
touch screen.
Yeah, they can have their apps. Apps don't appeal to me. No, it's very selfish, but
yeah, once it comes to as Damien calls it, AAA gaming. Once they're in on that, they've got a good chance of jumping straight ahead from when they come in. The same way that Sony jumped in out of nowhere from the Sega and then Nintendo, and then Microsoft jumped in out of nowhere from Nintendo and the.
And let's come back and listen to this one day when it's true.
Yeah. And we've all
because it will happen.
I pray that one day the Steambox actually does come out.
Yes, I'll worship you if you come out, Steambox. I'll start your own religion. Okay then, and on to our final piece of news, some movie news. Yeah. Screw you games, we're back onto the film.
What?
Machete Kills.
Yes.
Yes, Danny Trejo is back as Machete in October.
And do you know who else is in this?
Who else is in this?
The person who plays the I'm pretty sure it's the President of the United States, Charlie Sheen.
Fantastic.
How awesome is this going to be?
That's pretty cool. There's only one thing I could have said better as the President of the United States.
Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah. That would have been amazing. But maybe, please get Samuel for the third one, because Machete Kills Again is apparently part of the trilogy.
It's got to be, man. They advertised it.
They have.
They advertised it at the end. They gave about 6 different.
Yeah.
The sequel to Machete Kills. And after that, Machete kills again.
Have you seen Machete, Jason?
I haven't.
Oh,
You
please
need to
watch
see
it.
It's just tongue-in-cheek, stupid awesomeness.
I've got a feeling it was on in the pub. And so I was kind of glancing up every so often thinking, that looks quite good, but I still don't know what's going on.
It's
You probably need to hear the words.
You know how I hate film or things without stories? Well, this has no story and I love it. It's just so funny.
Machete's just this badass Mexican motherfucker who goes around kicking ass.
And being Mexican.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
I'll check it out.
Yeah,
I think I might have to check it out.
People who are listening need to check out Machete if you haven't seen it.
Yeah.
And if you think we're wrong, then let us know. But
We're not.
we're not.
No, we're not.
Oh, yes. And I think that's it for the news.
Yeah, I believe so.
And for the podcast, in fact.
So, any final thoughts?
Oh, I forgot about final thoughts.
You always do these.
Yeah, I do.
I don't remember. Did we have final thoughts last time?
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
Oh, did I have a final thought?
We did the final thought about pretty much choosing Xbox or PlayStation.
Oh yeah, I remember. Easy
bummer.
answer.
I'm sure there was something. I don't know.
You might have to save it for next time.
Yeah. Final thoughts. I suppose I could do the whole cliche things. If you manage to get this far through the podcast, I suppose you must at least tolerate it. So feel free to follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/ClashPlanet. Visit our website, clashplanet.com. YouTube channel, Clash Planet. Twitter, Clash Planet. Yeah. Clash Planet.
Lots of Clash Planets.
Just Google. Well, I say Google it. Yeah. Just go on clashplanet.com. Everything will be there. Hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully.
Hopefully.
Come on, Paul.
Yes, indeed.
And Jason?
Oh, I need a final thought as well.
You don't have to.
Oh, I don't think I can come up with one. There's a lot of pressure now.
Oh.
No, I think... no, I haven't got a final thought whatsoever. Other than, I'm going to do my first movie review at some point soon.
Oh, what are you reviewing?
Because I'm absolutely, totally looking forward to seeing The World Ends.
Yes,
yes.
fair enough.
Mr. Pegg's latest film in what I believe has been called the Cornetto Trilogy.
Yeah, when you go, let me know. I'll come with you.
That's on in a couple of weeks, so I'll be going to see that. Vital importance, and you've all heard it. Dibs. I'm reviewing that one.
Fair enough.
That's my final thought.
My final thought is, don't bring a sword to a gunfight.
Yes.
Or a Wii U.
Or a Wii U to a console war. Ba-dum-tsh.
Good stuff.
Goodbye, and thanks for listening. Check us out at clashplanet.com.
Yeah.
That's clashplanet.com.
Yeah. Game over.
You can work out where to cut. It's fine.
Yeah.
About there.
Yeah, that'll do.
Structure!